All right, so today we're going to talk about symmetry. Why I'm not here today. I guess you're seeing me anyway, but or not seeing me, hearing me. So anyway, we're going to talk about symmetry. This little video is going to go through some different types of symmetry that there are. We're only interested really in two basic types. It's going to go into a couple others, but it's still kind of interesting and give you some information on it. Then we'll have another a Google Classroom thing set up for you that you can play with. Another Linux site that does some things with cool things with symmetry is very short. Before we move on to our other things today, including looking at that, taking our little quiz we have to do, and then probably start an assignment that we'll finish on Monday. So let's go ahead and watch the video.
You are taking a walk in nature, enjoying the bugs, birds, and leaves, when you start to wonder, why are so many things in nature symmetrical? An object is symmetrical when it can be divided into identical or nearly identical parts of the same size on an axis. You start to collect leaves, grasses, pine cones, flowers, or anything else interesting that you think might be symmetrical. There are two types of symmetry: reflective symmetry, which is when one half of an object is identical to the other half along a line through the center of the object; and rotational symmetry, which can also be called radial symmetry, is when you can rotate an object around a point multiple times and see the same image repeated. An object that is not symmetric is called asymmetric. You can use a mirror to check if an object has reflective symmetry. For example, if I take this leaf and place the mirror at its center, I can see where the line of symmetry is. The line of symmetry is an axis, or imaginary line, which we can envision to divide this leaf into identical halves. This hosta leaf is also symmetrical, because both sides of the leaf look the same. So with this sweet pea blossom. The cedar leaf appears to be asymmetrical, but if you look at it closely, you can see that it is symmetrical as well. You realize butterflies and moths are also symmetrical. Even this cat that is wandering across my workspace has reflective symmetry. Our imaginary line of symmetry can also be called a sagittal plane because it divides the cat into right and left halves. On the outside, both sides of this cat look identical, but it is important to remember that on the inside, organs such as the heart are more to one side of the body than the other. All these examples show plane or bilateral symmetry, which is a type of reflective symmetry. The other type of reflective symmetry is point symmetry. You can't see point symmetry without a microscope, but it's still out there in nature. Point symmetry is when you can divide an object into two identical parts by imagining a line of symmetry anywhere on the object. For example, a circle has point symmetry because I can divide here and both sides look the same. But if I divide here, here, or here, all the halves are still identical. Some protozoa, which are made up of only one cell and are very, very tiny, also have point symmetry. Some animals which live in the water and have radiating parts have point symmetry as well. Now you decide to look at plants with rotational symmetry. This bird's foot trefoil has rotational symmetry because you can divide it 7 different ways and it still looks similar. This lily also has rotational symmetry. One of the blossoms on this sweet william, this yellow flower, and this apple, when you cut horizontally, all have pentaradial symmetry because they can be divided 5 different ways and still be identical. While I am making this, it's summer, so I don't have any snow to look at, but individual snowflakes also have rotational symmetry. And if I make a paper snowflake, I can see the rotational symmetry. You think this daisy might have rotational symmetry, but it's hard to tell with all the petals. Also, if you look closely, the center is spiraling, and spirals are definitely not symmetrical. This pine cone is also spiraling. Hmm. You'll have to look for spiraling plants next time you go for a walk. Lily also has rotational symmetry, one of the blossoms on this sweet.
Okay, so if we looked at the different types of symmetry that we have from that, the ones that we're interested in, okay, they talked about was rotational symmetry and reflective symmetry or reflectional. It kind of depends. I've actually heard rotational symmetry called as point symmetry, so they define point symmetry as something different. Reflective symmetry, reflectional symmetry, sometimes called line symmetry. They kind of used those line and point in a little different way, but rotational symmetry basically means that you can take a shape, right, say a triangle, and you can rotate that around about a point. So if we put a point here in the center of the triangle, we could rotate that. So I'll kind of show you. Mine's not going to be very, I didn't want to do that. Hang on, guys. Let me actually click on this. I wanted to do something different. So let me take this guy and I want to copy it and then paste it here. There we go. Oops, not that. I wanted to copy this. Maybe I do need to select it here. Okay, let me see if I can take this and copy that and paste it over here someplace. Away. There we go. Now I can do this. So now if I take this, right, and I rotate this, and I did this the other day, more, and I can rotate it. So I'm just going to rotate it, like we could rotate it 90 degrees, okay, and then I could rotate it another 90 degrees. And if I can rotate this and they match up, right, then it's gonna work, okay? If I get rid of that, I don't think I want to get rid of that. All right, so if you rotate this 60 degrees or 120 degrees around there, it's gonna rotate, right? I couldn't get those things to rotate, but it will match up, and that's what that means if it's rotational. If it's reflective or reflectional, right? So if we have, say, something like this, goes out, little plus sign here, okay? Then we can divide it down the middle this way or this way, fold it over, or do that mirror that she was showing, and then you would get reflective symmetry, all right? So those are the different symmetries that we have. So what you want to do is grab a Chromebook, and if you go into Google Classroom, I put something called symmetries and tilings in there, and we'll pull that up. So we'll better pause this for now until everybody gets loaded up. Okay, so hopefully everybody's loaded up and you're on to this right here. Okay, so this is a tessellation. We talked about these yesterday, all right? But the hexagons are obviously symmetrical, right? This whole tessellation is symmetrical. If you look right down, you can divide that, divide it into a reflectional. We could probably divide it this way, reflectional, and it should all line up. Down here, though, it talks about symmetries. And if you click on Load GeoGebra Worksheet, it will load up. And then it just says, drag the red point to make a painting in which of these images have rotational symmetry and which has reflectional symmetry, the blue or the green. So if you just drag this around, you can see that you get some pretty cool symmetrical designs. All right, play with it a little bit. You can look at it and say, hey, what kind of symmetry do these have, right? Is it rotational? Is it reflective? All right, just wanted you to kind of play with it a little bit, see what that looks like. So we'll pause it again so you play with it for a few minutes. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to play with that a little bit. Also, there are some things called tilings in different wallpaper patterns which have reflectional and other symmetry. So if we look at these, let me show you those real quick. Not quite as exciting, you can't play with it as much. These are different called wallpaper groups, okay? And if you click on those, there's lots of symmetry involved in them. And they have different names, okay, and where they came from. So if we go back, we can pick on any one of these, maybe like this one here. All right. So different objects, different things that have symmetry, and different types of symmetry. Very appealing, very artistic stuff. Okay, but it's all math kind of related. All right. So hopefully you kind of got that. Some things out of symmetry, and you're able to look at it. One assignment problem is if you get to that, it's going to have you look at a deck of playing cards. We don't have deck of playing cards, so what I had the other class do is just use a Chromebook or use your phone if you want to look up some images of playing cards, and you'll be able to tell if they have symmetry or not. There's also some letters in there, so the best thing to do if you're not sure if a letter has different types of symmetry is, we can get some patty paper if you want, trace it, fold it over, see if it matches, rotate it, see if it matches. All right. For example, if you had the S and you wanted to know, hey, does that have rotational symmetry? You could use a little patty paper, trace it, rotate it around. You could use your paper itself and turn it and rotate it around. Okay. Same thing with the playing cards. If you're looking at the playing cards, all right, and see you've got diamonds, because I can draw those ones better than I can anything else. 4 diamonds here. All right, and you're looking at that, you're saying, hey, I don't know, does that have rotational symmetry? Just turn it around. Okay, take your phone and rotate it. Now, it might, that's the problem with phone, is that it might adjust, so you really won't see it, but you could do that. Most people that I worked with, their phone held it, and you could just look at it and say, hey, yeah, they are the same. So you can use that, just rotate the paper around and look at it. You can use patty paper if you want. I'll have that set out for you. All right. So on the quiz, basically, we need to do a couple things. On there, there's a question where it's going to ask you to perform a transformation to solve a problem. You can use patty paper again, or you can use mirrors, whatever you want. Or there's an optional GeoGebra part where you can go in to Google Classroom and do it that way too, and it will save for you. Okay, so you can do it either way. You get to pick. All right, I'm not too concerned about which way you do it. All right, so that's the kind of thing that's going to be on. That's the main standard. There's a couple questions on there about the finding angles and regular polygons. I put the formulas on there, so it's very short. There's that question and the perform transformation question that are on there. So good luck, and I'll see you on Monday.